Hello everybody, I'm Michael Pearson, and I'm going to be reading my essay about a teaching success that I've had. My first success. I began my first year of teaching this fall, so I don't have much experience to draw from when it comes to successful teaching. I did, however, have a very interesting and enlightening experience in student teaching. While most of my examples were non-examples, I did find successes teaching my candidate work sample, or CWS. With the approval of my cooperating teacher, I chose to cover basic grammar rules for 1 week. While my example is not particularly fancy and didn't encourage deeper thinking, my students weren't ready to think critically about grammar, so even the most beautiful, elaborate, and thought-provoking grammar lesson would be useless to them. My goal was to teach students the difference between nouns, verbs, adjectives, and prepositions. Despite being in the 10th grade, my students could not answer these questions on the pretest. My unit started with a few problems that had to be solved. I asked students to identify the parts of speech of every word in a short sentence. The average score on this exam that included these questions was 5.1 out of 14. I started my CWS the next week. My favorite day of teaching was that Tuesday. Over the weekend, I took a stack of red Solo cups and borrowed a label maker to paste the targeted parts of speech on 5 cups, then repeated that 8 times. Then I purchased popsicle sticks where I wrote 1 word on 40 sticks, then repeated the same words 8 times to make matching sticks and cups for 8 groups. I brought the materials in on Tuesday and explained the activity to my classes. They were to split into 8 groups, which they were glad to do, and then sort each of their sticks into the red cups based on which part of speech the words belonged to. The students were excited and started sorting right away. I often struggled with the apathetic students, but even the most disengaged students were sorting the sticks. Seeing the talkative boys from my 4th hour actually collaborate to complete an activity was astounding. As I walked around, I heard students talking about parts of speech, asking each other questions. The students were especially confused by prepositions, but they were working together. I did very little, but when they believed they were finished, they raised their hands and had me or my cooperating teacher come and check their answers. I finished this day with a bit of reading and a slideshow, moving forward with the unit. The average score on the post-assessment went up to 7.2 out of 14. It was a modest success, but it was my first real teaching success. I was ecstatic. I bring this up not because it has anything to do with our class, and I acknowledge that I am celebrating students being able to memorize parts of speech, which is the lowest level of thinking according to Bloom's taxonomy. But I bring this up because sometimes secondary teachers have to start here before creating the fun, really exciting lessons. It's my dream to have a day of class dedicated to analyzing music that students volunteer, letting us practice English skills on their favorite songs. But what does that really matter if they don't even know the difference between a noun and a verb? This lesson primed the students for the more dense, complex ideas that we discuss next, subjects and predicates. I think my activity was successful because I let them use concrete manipulatives to explore an abstract concept, exploring how the brain sorts words into parts of speech in a similar way. My cooperating teacher was so excited to have students analyze literature, asking them to create complex analyses of Fahrenheit 451. But I read their essays, and I knew the students weren't there yet. When I read the textbook for this class, I thought the same thing. While this activity was easy, my students knew I had high expectations. At the end of the semester, they told me I was a harsh grader, and I actually made them work. At the end of the semester, a student left an anonymous note on my desk that said, among other things, I especially enjoyed the grammar lessons. Teaching with Taylor Swift is about meeting students where they are to bring them up, which I felt is what I attempted here. I did make plenty of mistakes, and I wish I could have extended the lessons beyond a week to make something truly memorable. But my cooperating teacher was unfortunately very controlling. She said she didn't like grammar, and she didn't want to teach it. I learned something from her when she said that. While I don't especially enjoy Taylor Swift, teaching isn't always about teaching what you most enjoy. It's about teaching the student, whatever that may look, or sound like.